Well, as you can see, we are now dressed up for the 4th of July because this is our 4th of July show. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Don't change your channel. It's not a mistake. This is our Volpe Bazzo Report Christmas show. And welcome to it. My guest host, Dominic Volpe, is making rather merry for the holidays. So I have a couple of exciting guests. Remember from last year, we have the mayor of Town Link, Bruce A. Parr.
Hello, everybody, and hello, my former co-host,
And
Bazzo.
and he's wearing his ascot because he
ascot,
likes
right,
acting.
Right.
So he has to act like the next
Right.
What was it, Lunton Fontaine? What do you
Right.
Lunton Fontaine?
Well, I think I have some lint on me, but I don't know about the rest of it.
And of course, the editor of the Yorktown News, Brian Fumagalli, who's here for his first Christmas show.
Yes.
And of course, he dressed up and shaved like he always does for my show.
Yeah.
You know, when he does Bruce's Grace Notes, he always dresses up.
It's
and
not
shaves.
Bruce's, it's Supervisor Michael Grace's
Yes.
Grace Notes, by
Yeah,
the way.
but you're the MC, and
Okay. Yeah.
and he always dresses up.
Well,
for
the
you,
first
but-
time I was on their show, I wore shorts
Yeah.
because I
But
thought
you
it was
still
a
shaved.
press conference. I didn't know I'd be part of the press conference.
But
Right,
you're still
yeah.
shaved.
He blindsided you.
I guess I shaved. I don't remember.
See, you never shave for my show. He treats me like crap.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Anyway, I wanted. We're here for the holidays, so we're not going to get too serious. But I just want to get serious enough to start. Bruce, I know you did a lot behind the scenes. What did you think of? Were you surprised about any of the results for this year's Yorktown election?
Surprised? No, I really did think whether or not I had been working behind the scenes of the supervisors.
Oh, we all
campaign.
did, for God's sake.
No, I'm saying, my point is, even if I had not been, yes, I did work behind the scenes. I thought he was going to win. And I thought
Yeah, but
that
you think that many votes? He had one line. One line.
actually, what I was
He had 5,000 over
what I was
5,000
what I was
votes.
predicting within the Grace campaign was that he would win or should win by 2-1. No, he didn't win by 2-1, but he came close to doing that.
Even at the
he won
end,
by,
the whole
he
time.
had almost 60% of the vote.
The whole time you thought that, even like
No, I was saying that I'd say 2 weeks before the campaign, and I openly said it to Michael and to
Yeah.
the campaign manager Tony Fusco.
Yeah.
I mean my exact words. I was I'm careful with my words. You should win by 2-1. That was what I said.
So now, but now,
Because the reason being, and you said it yourself in your column, Andy, that he's the incumbent, number one, and that I feel, am I partisan, in his favor? Yes, of course I am. But I've talked to other people in town, residents. He's done a good job.
he didn't
really,
pick off enough people to lose.
right, as you put it, right. I mean, you sort of look at the negative reinforcement part of it. He didn't piss enough people. But I look at it that he's done a tremendous amount. In fact, one of the newspapers said after he was in office a very short time that he accomplished more in his first few months in office than previous supervisors had in their entire terms.
Well, the last 2 years of Cooper, Peters, and Siegel, he did more in 2 years than all three of them combined.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
No, he did.
my point.
And I-
my point is,
and-
regardless of what they did or didn't do,
No.
he had an agenda, and Michael is very much of what used to be called a can-do. Remember that?
Yeah.
He can-do meaning he not only conceives it, but he implements it. He
I
executes it.
equate
Right.
Michael Grace with Bob Tendy a lot, and with Eric.
Right.
They're in an executive position.
Yes, he's an
and
administrator,
they
yeah.
see that they have to get from point A to point B.
Right.
And there's an old saying: people don't want to hear about the labor pains; they want to see the baby.
Right.
And Mike's idea was to show the voters the baby. They didn't want to hear what he had to do to get from point A to point B. What was Cooper and Donnie's and Siegel's problem was they were government-centric, and they let the government grind to a halt with endless talking, endless looking, endless believing that you had to obey the process because it was written in the Bible.
Right.
And Mike said, no, this is not what we're supposed to do. People elected,
Right.
I mean, 9 years for a dog park. 9
I know,
years
it's crazy.
for a
over
dog park.
30
Right.
attempts.
Right.
30
I mean,
spots.
for a place for a dog to poop, which I still don't understand
Or
why.
or as I put it, it was 63 years in dog years.
But why would, I mean, I'm not a fan of taxpayers having to deal with this at all. I mean, you got a dog, you walk them on your property, you walk them on the street like everybody did before there was such thing as a dog park.
Right, and Michael, and I'm interested, obviously, in your point of view, Brian, not only as a journalist, but as a publisher and somebody who talks to a lot of people and gets around a lot, that he's not only a small government advocate, he's a small government administrator. He doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. And as soon as he got into office, and before he got into office, when he was campaigning, his agenda was, let's streamline the process. There's no need to have all of this red tape and paperwork, a lot of which is redundant, by the way. And just because something is a regulation doesn't mean that it's reasonable, or doesn't even mean it's necessary, right?
He said on more than one occasion during town board meetings, even to us on the phone when we call him for things. If there's a law he doesn't agree with, or a regulation, or a pass, he'll just say, I don't agree with the law.
Right.
And that strikes some people as this, and that's where they got, oh, he's going to ram it through. It's going to be a backdoor, deals made.
Right, and there's no evidence, and nobody ever could prove this.
But anyway, that's what you need. When you had a process that stopped and I wasn't here for all those years, you were all those supervisors, I wasn't here, but even if he didn't really mean what he was, sometimes I didn't know if he actually meant what he was saying 100%. I just thought he was saying something because he wanted to put the bar so far over there that it could get to here. He was overshooting.
The reason why I
thought.
equate him with Tendy and Eric is because they were both
who's Tendy? I'm not.
Bob Tendy,
Putnam Valley
supervisor. And what was his nickname? Bully Bob, they called him, because he was another executive. And he said, enough of Putnam Valley being the land that time forgot.
Right. Yeah.
And he just pushed this stuff.
So no more catering to the vocal minority.
Yeah, thank you. Right, exactly. Right.
I mean, they get to have their say, but that doesn't mean they get to have their way.
Right.
I mean, you look at this, like I said, 9 years for a dog book. This is ridiculous. But now, we're going back to the elections and all this, okay, so we figure with the supervisor. I mean, I never thought that Patel or Terrence were ever going to lose. Well, especially Vishnu, because all he does is campaign.
Right.
He's never nonstop campaign. But what did you think of the highway supervisor race? Because you had a piece of news you called me about the other day about the amount of write-ins Steve Gardner got.
Yeah,
What
and
was that?
I also
amount?
I also predicted that he would get a lot of write-ins.
I think they said 1,000. Right. That's what I got
that's
from
unbelievable.
Some people.
It really is.
Well, if you looked at, I don't know who he took from. He's a Democrat, and we know that Tom Diana's a Democrat.
Right.
We also
know party lines don't mean all that much in local elections.
Especially, obviously, a lot of people crossed over in this election. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
But he might have affected it. But the fact is, and with Steve, is that I think all three candidates for supervisor were very good guys. I like them. I think
highway superintendent.
Highway superintendent. But if he had more of a apparatus behind him, if he had more of a campaign, Steve Gardner, I think he might have been a big
part. Being that he was known as a Democrat, because don't forget, 4 years ago he primaried as a Democrat, and then he primaried again as a Democrat. I think that I think that without Steve, Tom Diana could very well have been the highway superintendent.
Well, it was close.
This election.
It was close between Tom Diana and
I'm just saying,
and the winner, Dave
let's say you
Paganelli.
had 1,000 votes. I still say 800 came from the Democrats.
Maybe, but again, I think Steve Gardner deserves all the credit in the world. I mean, talk about legwork. I mean, I think he told me this when he stopped at my house. He probably went to every home virtually in Yorktown. Yeah. So you got to give the guy tremendous credit.
Sure.
Talk about sweat equity. And something really shows how much he wanted it.
Well, I'll tell you that the election proved what I've always said, that enemies accumulate, not friends.
Right.
Nick and Mike both had a record, but Nick's record was longer.
Right.
And people this was not the time for him to run on that record.
Right.
I mean,
or for him to run on a line that to a lot of people made absolutely no sense.
No, conservatives spanned both party lines.
Well, let's talk about the letter.
Conservatives, but the problem is the Democrats had no kick. His votes over the years ticked off more Republicans than they ever did Democrats.
Okay, right.
Okay, I mean, if you want to say Nick was a conservative, maybe on national issues, but certainly locally, he was never a conservative. He was right. The mismatch was always him running as a Republican.
Right.
That was the mismatch.
And let's talk about, by the way, which was probably the most colorful element in the supervisor election, was what I call the Scarlet Letter, meaning the letter that Mark Oxman wrote and sent to, I believe he sent to just about every registered Democrat in Yorktown. Which, I mean, don't you think that had a profound influence?
Well, if it did, it's because I've written numerous times, to be a Democrat requires no thought. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to be a Democrat. You never have to think about anything.
Pretty gross generalization,
No,
I'd say.
because I read Mark's letter, and everything he talked about Nick was totally irrelevant to any issue he faced as a councilman in Yorktown. What does the town councilman of Yorktown have to do with gun control, abortion, nothing? He can't do anything. And if Democrats voted because Nick may be pro-life, and they say, "Oh, we can't have this," then they're idiots.
Well, I think I think we should put in context. Mark Oxman is one of the elders, certainly, of the Westchester County Democratic Party for years. But I think his issue was more with the Yorktown Democratic Committee than it was with the candidate.
Yeah, but the fact is that you have conservative Democrats. They call what, yellow dog Democrats, blue dog, whatever they're called. But the fact is that Oxman saw the word conservative, and it's like the red flag to a bull, and it says, "Oh, we got to go away," because every time you see conservative, you see extreme right-wing conservative.
Well, you're looking at it from I think you're partially right, but you're also looking at it from your point of view because you're conservative. As an editor, that letter was sent to us, and I thought it was a disgrace, and there was no way we were going to run that letter.
Why?
The Oxford
Why?
letter. Because I'm not going to put in my newspaper that Nick Bianco or anybody is racist. Uses code words for hating
Well, that was
people.
another thing that was off
I
the
thought that
wall.
was a really
Well,
tasteless.
it's not your newspaper saying it.
Right, but obviously I have editorial control of what goes in, and I wasn't going to be a party to that, because I've been here for a year and a half, 2 years. I have no experience. If someone writes a letter to me that says Bruce Apar is XYZ, meaning you're the worst, you've done all these bad things, beats his wife, I'm not going to put that letter in the paper.
Oh, then you've read letters from his
because
ex-employees.
That's awful, and just because I'm not saying it doesn't mean I'm going to put it in.
So those are the ex-employees writing about you to him, huh?
Right.
Your fan club.
It's like get in line.
First of all,
I thought it might backfire, but obviously it didn't.
We talked about
No,
that.
I think it
no.
helped. I think at the least it made a lot of Democrats sit on their hands and not vote.
Anybody that
They didn't even
believes
vote.
that Nick Bianco is a racist, again, proves my point that Democrats are idiots.
Again,
Because
I think the issue
You know Nick almost as long as I have. And nobody in his entire time that he was ever on the board, they accused him of a lot of things. Nobody ever called him a racist. Until Mark Oxman decided, let's bring out the conservative
again,
racist
I think the real
too.
issue for Mark Oxman was that, and I would agree on this, it doesn't matter what party it is, how could a political party, let's say a major political party, in a municipality, say nobody registered with our party deserves to be nominated by us? That's what they said. That no Democrat in Yorktown is electable.
That speaks
That's what
very
they said,
poorly
right?
for the Yorktown
No,
Democrats.
I'll
That's what I'm
tell you
saying.
what.
They're saying none of us are electable.
Actually, if Mark Oxman had,
willing to run.
if
right.
Mark Oxman had the testicles he was born with, and he
you
felt
want him
that
to
way,
run?
he should have run.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
He's not allowed to have an opinion about
Not
it.
like that.
Well, yes,
You can't
not
say
like that.
You can't say nobody's electable, nobody's qualified, and then when the
He didn't say it. The party said it by
No.
nominating somebody from a different party.
that's not unheard of, and
And he also didn't get a Wilson Pakula. Nick did not get a Wilson Pakula to become a Democrat, which also bothered the diehard Yorktown Democrats a lot. That at least switch parties. He didn't do that either.
Why should he? He's been a registered conservative.
And again, the blame was placed on the Democratic committee for not saying this is the condition on which we will nominate you. They didn't do that either.
In Cortland, they nominated a candidate who was a registered independent to run as a Republican. They nominated a person who was a registered in Buchanan during their March elections, a registered independent, to run as a Democrat. The fact is, how many times has a major party, especially the Republicans, have a tough time winning on one line alone. They need the second party line. You saw an election where the major party sought out the secondary party to give them the nomination. But Nick's voting record, I mean, if you want to go to hell with everything else and this conservative, and I'm sorry, that's all Mark saw was conservative. That letter was every talking point you ever see on MSNBC about conservatives. Okay, so I mean, the man hasn't got an original thought either.
Yeah,
He just
and by the
writes
way,
talking
Fox
points.
News doesn't have any talking points about liberals.
I'm making a point about.
I know. I'm just saying that both
But
networks
there is no
they
moral
cancel each other out.
No, they don't. There is no moral equivalencies. Democrats are idiots. Republicans just have no nuts. There's a big difference.
What about raisins?
They don't. Okay,
You know,
there is
Andy, if Oxman should run for office, you could run for office. You're very opinionated about that.
Yeah, but the parties would never nominate me. That's the difference. Okay. But what I'm saying is that Nick's votes on the board were more Democrat than they ever were Republican.
I think it's a legitimate.
So if you're running for a Yorktown office, on a record that you have, the Democrats had no kick with Nick because he sided with them, driving Republicans nuts for 16 years.
Right.
And I'm sorry, history doesn't start when you wake up in the morning. It certainly didn't start, when in 2000. History starts when history starts, and it exists.
But some people feel. I mean, I've talked to people, Democrats in Yorktown. Again, old guard Democrats, let's call them, who feel that the Yorktown Democratic Committee let itself be hijacked by people whose theme song seemed to be that old Groucho Marx song from one of his movies. Whatever it is, I'm against it.
Yeah,
these
but
people,
that was
they're
Nick's
against
record.
So
are
you talking about
they're
like
against everything. They have no solutions for anything.
the green aspect
Yes,
of the party?
They come out and they're always against something. That's fine, but then what's your solution?
Wait a
There's
second,
no
wait a
alternative.
And
second.
I think that was something that really hurt them in this
That did-
election.
that's what I'm saying.
Because
It did hurt them,
Grace
yeah.
led the way. He had his train going, and this is what he wanted to do in his solutions. And all they said was
They
no.
were obstructionists.
But they never said this is our.
Right, exactly. That's
I
right.
disagree with the premise that if you're against something, you have to have a viable alternative. You
Depends
can-
what the issue is.
Doesn't care
when
what
it comes
the-
to. when it
You-
comes to
if
the-
you
by the way,
have-
you don't, but then don't expect to get elected either.
No, but if something you believe is inherently wrong, you're allowed to come out against it without saying, well, what would you do?
Yes.
Well, right now, what I'm trying to do is stop you from being wrong. That's the first thing I'm trying to do.
But I would say if it's a new idea, like with Obamacare, for instance, if you don't like it and you think there's nothing wrong and just repeal it and don't replace it, fine, that's what you want to do because Obamacare is new, it's a new thing. But with Yorktown, the economic engines of Yorktown have been not doing too well for several years. It needs to be business coming in.
Right.
So there hasn't been stuff happening for a while. So you can't just say stop because you think the opportunity is bad. Well, look, your way has not done anything for so long. So then you must say how you will help the situation.
Okay, now
The situation's bad to begin
now
with.
we're talking about the economic engines, and obviously this is not unique to Yorktown because you saw Peekskill elect a Republican mayor and two Republican council people that
What
ran
did you
on
think
an
of the Republican mayor? Because
Well,
I
I'm
remember
just-
one of your guests said that there was some funny business with city a pension, I think it was, for several years he was
That
getting.
was
Was
all
that?
old history, and there was much ado about nothing, and that was the late. I told you there were 3 stages of a campaign.
I know, yes.
This was your child is ugly stage. That's what was that because they must have sensed that they were losing.
So he wasn't getting funds that he knew he shouldn't be getting?
He would have been in jail if that was true.
I guess politicians always go to jail when they should.
No, they still would have been in trial. There would have been something.
Okay.
Okay, no, I don't believe that it was true. And obviously you're talking about something from 1989 that obviously if there was anything to it, it would have precluded him from running to begin with.
Right. And we should say, by the way, have we mentioned that the mayor's name is Frank
Frank
Catalina?
Catalina, right, but
Give the man his due.
But
I mean,
you
that was a big.
saw rejection.
that was a big shock.
You saw a rejection of the Democrat ticket in Peekskill.
Yes, and where the registration is heavily in favor of Democrats. Is it 2, 3, 4 to 1?
If you
It's heavily in
added up
favor.
all, if you added up all the registered voters in Peekskill that were conservative, independent, and Republican,
Was it like half?
It still doesn't make
Equal
the
right.
number of registered Democrats.
And doesn't that also, further prove the, the maxim that in local politics, party line doesn't mean all that
I always
much?
love when you quote me.
Although I would say...
I thought it was Mark Twain, but that's okay.
No,
the
Mark
modern
Twain.
Mark Twain. I would say, and this is
Mark
speaking
Twain
out
hasn't
of,
said much lately because now he
right.
is dead and it's
out
not
of ignorance.
exaggerated.
I don't know what the turnout was in Peekskill. I'm sure it wasn't that high.
No, it was a good turnout. But,
Really?
what you saw then, what
I'm
you
sure a
saw,
lot of the Democrats
What
didn't come
I'm
out
going
for
to
it.
tell you, because you did have 2 Democrats that did win, Drew Claxton and the lady that owns Kathleen's Tea Room. They won. What all the victors, with Frank Catalina, Joe Torres, Drew Claxton, and I wish I could remember her name from Kathleen's
Who,
Tea
Mary
Room.
Beth, or-
No,
no.
Kathleen. No, she lost.
Oh, she lost, okay,
All
right.
the people that won in Peekskill all signed the front of a paycheck. All business people.
Right. Business
Michael,
owners.
right?
Right.
Michael
That's a
Grace.
good sign.
Yeah, it is a
Mi-
good sign. I
Michael
agree.
Grace
Right.
is a business owner.
Yes, that's right.
Dave Paganelli is a business owner. Terrence Murphy is a business owner. Vishnu Patel just never stopped campaigning.
He's trying to protect us from the wrath of God.
That's right. That's why I said this in my column that we're taping here on December 4th, and my column will be out, and you'll have read it. But I mentioned that Nick Bianco and Dave Paganelli are going to have to change the name of their legislators report because as of January 1st, Dave won't be the. And if they keep it as a legislators report, then it's going to be Bianco and Patel with his "the gods are going to curse us."
Oh, they could name it in Dave's behalf. My way is the highway.
Oh, there you go. Look at that.
Well,
Very nice.
we always thought about the great show for Dave is what the hell.
Right.
I cleaned that one up because you know the name he always called.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is I think you saw, even in Cortland, Puglisi wasn't even challenged.
No, I know.
And you had Frisch who ran as a business candidate.
Right.
And you're seeing.
I wish some of this would translate to the national level,
Well,
Yeah, I
because-
know.
the state level,
But I think you saw an economic election locally.
Oh, absolutely.
I think this was driven by economics.
Right. I was going to say.
I mean, even Astorino. I mean, you had Noam Branson coming out. Astorino wants to outlaw abortions and condoms, and he wants to give guns to criminals.
Right.
But that wasn't this election.
Right.
That was not. This was a purely economic election, and all Branson
Right.
could say is, "I'm going to raise your taxes."
Yep.
That wasn't the election. Same with Dwayne Jackson. Kaplowitz wins because nobody really cares about his social issue standing because most of the Republicans up at this end are liberally socially.
Yes.
But fiscally conservative. They're Rockefeller Republicans.
Right, yes.
And Kaplowitz understood his district. You had Jane Jackson running around saying, "I'm going to raise your taxes and send it down below
He
287."
actually said
That's
that.
great.
He actually said he was
I
going to
know.
raise them,
Yes.
not too high or something.
Yes, but it was in
crazy.
your profile of him.
Yeah, right.
And I'm saying this is not the way to win an election
right.
above 287.
Right. Absolutely. Right.
This was an economic election. And
No, you're right. I was going to say, that I think people notice how soft the economy is. So yeah.
except the
when they-
Democrats.
So when they go to the polls, they're very sensitive to anybody saying, that they want to tax you more. It's already bad enough.
See, if I was Astorino, the only thing I would have done, because I like using humor, I learned this from you, is when Branson did the contraceptive ad, I would be Astorino and I'd say, "This is what Astorino's going to give you," and I'd hold up a box of Trojans. "This is what I'm going to give you," and I would hold up a sign, "You're hired." What's more important, the contraceptive or the job? I mean, you've got to figure there's a lot of ugly people without a job can't pay for they need a contraceptive for because they ain't going to get it for free.
No, but something right out of the gate,
I
Rob.
thought you'd like that one.
I do, thank you.
Right. I mean, I'm sure you noticed it too, Brian. Right out of the gate, Rob Astorino's campaign was very aggressive, ultra aggressive against Bramson,
Yes, it
and
was.
very high powered. He had a lot of money to spend to saturate the media, the airwaves, and I happen to know the firm that he used in Manhattan. I know the people there. They're
Bill
a high
O'Reilly
powered.
works there. Different
Yeah.
Bill O'Reilly.
Right, and Jessica Proud, who
Okay,
was
yeah, that's I know. Yeah.
Yeah, Jessica Proud, and they were very clever. This is what PR people do, especially in the political arena, is they kept Rob Astorino away from making any negative comments whatsoever, and they had Jessica Proud, who works, at the firm, doing all of the campaign spokesperson thing. So anything that came out against Noam Bramson did not come from Rob Astorino. It came from the spokesperson.
And I thought he did a great job. He got out in front and he set the tone for the campaign from the beginning.
Right.
And I was surprised at all the African American support he got from New Rochelle, from
Yeah,
Down County,
right.
because usually that goes to Democrats and it was
Right.
Astorino.
Dennis, let me know when we're down to 5 minutes.
Well, listen, no sooner, I found this fascinating in its own right. No sooner was Rob Astorino elected, then they're talking about him as a gubernatorial candidate. So the last time I saw George Oros, we were at the Hudson Valley Hospital Center Foundation Wine and Dine fundraiser, because I'm on the board of that. And so I saw George Oros there. So we were standing in the lobby going in. So I go, "So George, are you going to Albany?" He looked at me, he goes, "Right now I'm just going right in there." That's all I know.
Now listen, we're coming to the closing minutes of the show.
And we should say he's chief of staff.
It is our Christmas show. Dennis, set the camera for the Senate, because you're coming out like you did last year, Maude, because we're going to all wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Mother,
Year.
Come on, Mother. Get behind you, because you get to wave everybody a Merry Christmas. Yes, you are, Mother. Come on. Come behind us. Just leave the bag on the right. Come behind us.
Here we go.
From the Volpe Bazzo report, from the Yorktown News, from Chase Media Group, from our director, Dennis Tate, and my mother, we wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And Bruce, you're going to wish them a Happy Hanukkah?
Oh yeah, Happy Hanukkah, even though when you see this, Hanukkah will be over. So Happy Hanukkah 2014, everyone.
Okay, anyway, so...
And remember, by the way, can I put in my own plug? When Bruce the Blog listens, people talk, but none more than Bazzo.
That's true. Anyway, we still got to come out. We're going to get this manga.
I know, from the time you were born, you
That's right. But she wasn't there.
No, oh really?
No, I was self-born.
Okay.
Anyway, anyway, we got 2 minutes left. Bruce, you're acting. Okay, catch us up quickly on that. Catch us up on your acting.
Oh, okay, yes. I was just in California Suite for YCP Theater Works.
You went all to California
which is a Yorktown
to be in
community
a hotel
theater production. But the best comments I got were the two comments I got from people who saw the show. One said I reminded them of Woody Allen. I go, "I'll take it." And another one said Walter Matthau. I said, "And I'll take that too." But right now, yeah, I know.
No, look at him from the profile. I always said he looks like Richard Nixon. Look at him from the
I'm sure he loves that one.
Richard Nixon, right? And
well, now with Obama, Richard Nixon's a saint.
Are you trying to say that I'm a creep?
No, yeah.
Anyhow,
anyway, so where else?
But what I'm doing is Axial Theater in Pleasantville. It's called the Howard Meyer Acting Program. I've been in it for a year, and I'm continuing, and I'm going into a monologue workshop. And very quickly, the two monologues I'm working on: Friends, Romans, and Countrymen from Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, and the speech that Al Pacino gives in the locker room in Any Given Sunday. So I'm going like
that's a range, right?
From one end.
That's really, how did you decide that?
I picked those two. Yeah.
Now I was noticing on the town link that you had a Brewster blog, 50 years, Stupid People. What was that about? I reproduced it, but I didn't have a chance to read it.
When I was sitting in, I think it was my 8th grade English class, and the principal announced that the president had been shot and killed, I sat at my desk. I'll never forget 50 years later that I sat at my desk and I just went, "Stupid people, stupid people." That was the first words out of my mouth.
Really?
Yeah. And I'll never forget that. I remember exactly what I said.
See, I know where I was when Kennedy was shot. Everybody remembers when Kennedy was shot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right. That was my point. Everybody remembers.
I was in Thomas Jefferson Elementary School, and a bunch of us were in the restroom, and a teacher came in, everybody out, Kennedy's shot. I remember that.
I thought there was going to be some inappropriate
No,
joke.
you don't remember where you were when
No, but I was
going
to, before we go off here, since 9/11 is over 10 years away now, 9/11 or Kennedy shot, what sticks out more in your mind? I know you were younger when Kennedy was shot, but is there anything, would you rate them?
Well, they both stick out more, but you can't compare the two in the sense that 9/11 was how many people?
Almost 3,000.
3,000, so there's that. And in the case of Kennedy, it's the President of the United States.
It's different,
and nobody had thought in this day and age, and 50 years ago, that day and age, that could happen.
Yeah.
So it's they're different, and I don't think you can't compare them in any sense. They're both just unspeakable,
Anyway, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Brian. Yes.
Thank you, Andy. And good luck.
I guess you'll be doing our Christmas show next year.
Oh, yeah. I'll put it up down on my calendar.
That's right. I mean, you're a tradition now.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the opportunity.